What if everything you've been taught about attraction is a lie? What if the key to becoming irresistibly magnetic doesn't lie in how you look, how you speak, or how much you conform to society's standards, but in something far deeper, far more potent? You've likely spent years shaping yourself, molding your identity to fit into an image that pleases others. You've followed the rules, smiling when you don't want to, dressing to impress, and behaving according to what's socially acceptable. But something still feels wrong. It's as if you're wearing a mask that doesn't quite fit, playing a role that never feels like you. We've all been conditioned to believe that in order to be attractive, we must meet certain standards: physical beauty, social success, the appearance of perfection. But what if the most dangerous, most alluring version of yourself is not in trying to please the world, but in embracing who you truly are? What if it's in letting go of everything you think you should be and stepping fully into your authentic self? What if the real power, the magnetic, seductive force that draws people in, is found in confronting the parts of yourself that you've been taught to hide? Can you imagine for a moment what it would be like to not just fit in or be accepted, but to command attention simply by being unapologetically you? No more pretending, no more masks, just you, raw and unfiltered, unapologetically alive in your own skin. What if that was the key to becoming dangerously attractive, irresistible even? This brings us to a paradox. In our pursuit of attractiveness, we often end up denying the very aspects of ourselves that are the most powerful, the most alluring. The parts that make us human, the messy, imperfect, and even dark parts, are often the very aspects that attract others in ways superficiality never can. But here's the catch. To unlock that magnetic potential, you must first embrace something that most people fear. You must face your shadow, the hidden parts of you that society tells you to suppress. What if, instead of running from your shadow, you embraced it? What if the key to true attraction, the one that goes beyond surface-level beauty and charm, is found in accepting everything about yourself, including the parts you've been taught to reject? What if by confronting the parts of you that you've spent years hiding, you became dangerously attractive in ways you've never imagined? The truth is, the most potent form of attraction comes not from fitting into the mold, but from stepping outside of it entirely. It's in embracing your most authentic self, shadow and all. And the moment you do that, when you stop pretending to be someone you're not, that's when your true magnetic power begins to surface. We live in a world that constantly demands performance. From the moment we're born, we're taught to behave in a way that fits into a mold that defines what's acceptable, what's beautiful, what's desirable. But the truth is, the mold was never designed with you in mind. It was a generic design, a blueprint that doesn't account for the depth, complexity, and uniqueness of your inner world. In this world, to fit in, to be attractive, to be desirable, you are told to suppress who you truly are. You hide your emotions, bury your impulses, and smile when you want to scream. You shape yourself according to the roles society assigns you. And all of this, every effort to conform to a standard of beauty or success, leaves you hollow. Not because you're not trying hard enough, but because the very process of hiding who you are chips away at the essence of your being. The power you seek doesn't come from wearing a mask. It comes from unmasking yourself. The hidden problem here is that we've been raised in a world that teaches us to reject our shadow. The term shadow, as coined by Carl Jung, refers to the unconscious parts of the psyche, those desires, impulses, and fears that we deem unacceptable or even shameful. These are the parts of ourselves we repress to fit into societal norms. However, Jung believed that the shadow is not just a collection of negative traits. It contains all the untapped potential that we fail to see, or that we are taught not to see. Your shadow holds the very essence of what makes you irresistibly attractive. It's the part of you that's real, raw, and unrefined. Yet it is also the part of you that others are most drawn to when you let it out. Why? Because authenticity is magnetic. People are instinctively drawn to those who are unapologetically themselves. The reason people find bad boys or rebels alluring isn't because they're acting out of conformity. They are acting out of a deep, primal sense of being. But there's a catch. For many of us, our shadow is not just hidden, it's feared. We've been taught to ignore our flaws, to pretend that we are always kind, polite, composed, and happy. We fear the consequences of letting the darker parts of ourselves emerge. But in doing so, we suppress our greatest sources of strength, allure, and power. Philosophically, this denial of the shadow is what keeps us trapped in cycles of dissatisfaction. Nietzsche discussed this at length in his concept of the Übermensch, Overman. He suggested that human beings must transcend their societal constraints and embrace their deeper nature, even the darker parts. Only then can we achieve greatness. But we can't achieve this greatness by running from our shadow. No, Nietzsche argued that to become the Übermensch, we must integrate our darker sides into our identity, acknowledging our flaws and contradictions, and using them as fuel for growth. Jung also agreed with this sentiment. He believed that those who ignore their shadow are destined to live incomplete lives, haunted by unconscious conflicts. He said, "What you resist persists, and what you refuse to see within yourself in the form of the shadow will continue to control you from the unconscious realm." You may not be aware of it, but it's shaping the way you move through the world, creating patterns of self-sabotage and stagnation. This hidden force affects your life in more subtle ways than you might realize. Perhaps you've experienced moments where you feel like an imposter, where you're wearing a mask that doesn't fit right. Or maybe you find yourself desperately seeking validation from others, yet still feeling hollow inside. These are signs that you are at war with your shadow. Instead of embracing it, you suppress it. Instead of integrating your true self, you compartmentalize it. But there's a deeper psychological truth to all this. The moment you stop resisting and begin to embrace your shadow, your repressed desires, your fears, and even your flaws, is when you begin to unlock a deeper, more powerful attraction. Not the kind of attraction that comes from pleasing others, but the magnetic force that emanates from being unapologetically you. You stop playing by society's rules and instead you play by your own. The most insidious consequence of denying your shadow is the slow erosion of your inner peace. You might think that by pretending to be someone you're not, by following the rules, conforming to the ideals of beauty and success, you're moving closer to happiness. But in reality, this self-deception is quietly destroying your ability to experience true peace. The more you hide the parts of yourself that make you unique, the more disconnected you become from your authentic essence. And in that disconnection lies the root of all your struggles. Have you ever felt a sense of deep, underlying anxiety, even when everything on the surface seems perfect? Have you ever experienced moments of self-doubt, where despite all your achievements, you still feel incomplete? This is the quiet destruction of your inner peace at work. Your mind may have convinced you that you're following the right path, but your soul knows otherwise. It feels the friction of a life lived inauthentically. And that friction manifests as stress, anxiety, and an overwhelming sense of dissatisfaction that refuses to go away. This disconnection can manifest in various ways. You may start to feel emotionally numb, unable to connect with others on a deeper level, even though you may be surrounded by people. Or perhaps you constantly seek validation from others, but no amount of praise or recognition can fill the void inside you. This is because you are living in conflict with yourself. You are at war with your shadow. The consequences extend beyond personal frustration. When you suppress your true self, you lose your ability to form authentic, meaningful connections. Your relationships become shallow because you are not offering the world the real you, only the version that conforms to external expectations. People sense this, even if they don't consciously acknowledge it. And without authentic connections, true intimacy becomes impossible. In professional settings, this suppression can manifest as imposter syndrome, an overwhelming feeling that you don't belong, that you're not good enough, despite evidence to the contrary. You may constantly feel like you're playing a role, pretending to be someone you're not in order to gain approval or success. This dissonance between your true self and your public persona creates deep psychological tension, which eventually manifests in burnout, depression, or anxiety. Culturally, this issue is widespread. We live in a society that teaches us to perform rather than be. We're bombarded with images of perfection on social media and advertising and movies, and all these images feed the lie that we must fit into a specific mold in order to be worthy of love, success, and peace. But the more we strive to meet these standards, the further we move away from our true selves. The consequences of living in this way are not only personal, they affect society as a whole, contributing to a collective sense of alienation, stress, and burnout. The path to reclaiming your inner peace begins with rebellion, but not the kind of rebellion that involves fighting against the world. It's the rebellion that involves fighting against your own self-imposed limitations. It's the act of embracing what you've been taught to reject. It's about standing up to the societal pressures that have conditioned you to conform and instead choosing to honor your true nature, with all its contradictions and complexities. The first step in this rebellion is to confront your shadow, not just to acknowledge its existence, but to welcome it, to understand it, and to integrate it into your conscious self. This isn't an easy process, but it is necessary for unlocking your true power. Carl Jung believed that this process of integrating the shadow is what leads to individuation, the process of becoming the whole person you were always meant to be. Jung wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. To do this, you must stop running from your darker side and instead look it in the eye. You must face your fears, your flaws, and your insecurities. This is where true transformation begins. When you face the parts of yourself that you've been avoiding, you begin to access a wellspring of power, magnetism, and authenticity that cannot be faked or fabricated. But this isn't just about acknowledging the negative aspects of yourself. It's about embracing the full range of human experience. To break free, you must allow yourself to be fully, unapologetically you without guilt, shame, or fear. This means allowing yourself to desire, to be flawed, to make mistakes, and to be imperfect. The key to freedom is to stop playing by the world's rules. As Nietzsche said, "He who fights with monsters should be careful lest he thereby become a monster." By trying to fit into society's mold, you're sacrificing your authenticity. The rebellion is about creating your own standards based on your own desires, your own values, and your own truth. The deepest truth about attraction is this: it is not based on how well you fit into the mold, but how fully you are willing to step outside of it. When you embrace your shadow, When you accept yourself in your entirety, both light and dark, that is when your true power emerges. And it's not a power you have to strive for. It's a power that simply is. It is the power of authenticity, of self-awareness, of inner peace. When you stop resisting your true self, the world begins to respond differently to you. People are drawn to authenticity like moths to a flame. They are attracted not to the mask you wear, but to the vulnerability and honesty you exude. This is the dangerous allure of self-acceptance. It is magnetic, irresistible, and unshakable. When you are truly yourself, you do not need to seek approval from others. You become the source of your own validation, and in doing so, you become more attractive than ever before. The final realization is this: you are already enough. There is nothing you need to change or fix. The moment you stop pretending to be someone you're not is the moment you unlock the full power of your being. When you stop hiding your shadow, you stop hiding your greatness, and that is the moment your inner peace and your dangerous attraction becomes undeniable.